Let me see if I can remember this. You take your left foot, you step it way the hell out to the side, but there has to be kind of a circular knee motion too. So like, oh, I can already feel my groin pulling and I'm going to stop. Jezzy really wants me to learn how to dance. We have so many other things in common that I personally don't see it as necessary. But you don't say that to her. She thought, it would be lovely if we could share this together. And I'm like, yeah, Jez, whatever you want. And for her, it's just so instinctive. She's always had this kind of a corporeal rhythm that I don't have. So it's like trying to explain long division to a dog. You think that your instructions are good. Dog disagrees. Jezzy first danced in utero. The doctors peeked in there with their uteroscopes, and then they were like, oh, that baby's swanging and bopping and weaving and jiving all over the place. And her dad goes, oh my God, future star quarterback. And Jezzy grabs the microphone and says, nah, man. And you could see her little footprints digging through Mama's belly skin, and it was clearly a tap routine. So her dad said, you know what, that's just as good. And Jezzy was like, yeah, man. Jezzy learned how to talk to flutes when she was just 3 years old. Most people don't even encounter that until middle school, and a lot of folks still think it's blasphemy against nature, but it's an incontrovertible fact that it opens up paths of power and ascension through the ranks of various subterranean organizations run by moss people who grow several tons worth of snail meat every single day for the Friendship Association of Malfeasance, which is their cult. Well, not their cult, but it's a cult that employs them. They're not in the cult. They are very emphatic about not being members. But they're not going to turn up their nose at your dollar if you can afford their snail prices. They only do bulk, though. You can't just buy a couple snails. And even if you could, it's big snails. Like, if you've ever seen those giga snails that emerge glowing and irradiated from the sickly yellow light when something goes wrong in a reactor, and then they just sort of wave their mucus around and go, this feels better. Those got nothing on these. It's just that underground there's so many nutrients in the soil, and it's not even soil. It's basically just like the snails chill out all day, sucking on rocks, and then they get real healthy. I tried it didn't work. But when these cults, it's tough to feed your cult once it takes off. And a lot of aspiring cult leaders don't even consider that. They're just like, hey, I made contact with an immortal intelligence that has promised to relocate us to a planet with sharp spires, but there's a lot of cool gooey stuff underneath and it'll be fun to climb. You just want to spread the word. You want to spread that truth. Well, if you spread it too good, making that PB&J sandwich with the revelations and the persuasion between the bread, all of a sudden, all of the childrens in the neighborhood are coming over and seeing what you got going on, going back home. Mommy, can I worship with the neighbor? And Mommy's like, but what about Jesus? And then the children, they say, Jesus is boring. We want to climb goose spires. And then, okay, just for a little bit, but then you gotta pray to Jesus later. They go over. They're never leaving. It's cool as all hell over there. So suddenly, your fledgling cult's like 50,000 strong, living in a cave-in underneath a tectonic plate. Where is this food coming from? You start off thinking, I'm sure there's some cave-like and some lava gators we could hose down till they die and then eat them, and maybe some mushrooms. And of course you do have all of those things, but that's labor-intensive. Who's picking all these mushrooms? And let me ask you this, Einstein. While they're out there picking mushrooms, who's building the rift saber that you need to cut away the false reality in which we were all sewn up by the doom seamstresses of Brehenham and get us onto that goo? Nobody. And that's where these gargantuan snails come in. And this is how business works. You find a demand that's not being met. You gotta hook 'em up a little supply. It's it's a give and a take. It's the proton electron. You see someone looking to take, you gotta give it. It's a lot like elective surgery. Most people, and I know I'm generalizing a lot. Boy, I should really stop doing that. Jezzy's always getting on me about my generalizations. But most people, when they get elective surgery, the left leg is just not what occurs to them. They're like, oh, I could have a prettier neck. Oh, what if my elbows were faster? Left leg elective surgery opens up opportunities the average individual isn't even considering. Like, have you considered this? Lopsided jumping? Most people, shut up. Most people just jump straight into the air. Both sides of their body go equally as high, but what if your left side could go even higher? What's that gonna look like? Does your entire body come apart, only to fuse back together as you return down to the ground or floor? You would own the NBA. What if that's not it at all? What if it's just that every time you jump, you automatically list to one side? You tip to the right. That sounds dangerous, but if you practice, then every time you jump, you're doing a flip. Imagine the absolute adoration of your peers. Oh, this guy's so flippy, he can't even jump without doing a flip. I can't do flips at all. He can't stop doing them. Exactly, as how flippy he is. Maybe you're not going for flippy. Maybe that's not what you're after in this life. But have you tried it? I have. I jump flippy. I don't always land them. There's been a couple of neck injuries, but let's not get hung up on failure. We gotta look to our successes and learn from those. Learn from the flips we landed and not the flips that landed us in the ER. Point is, dancing isn't easy. Neither is cults. But when you have a chance to get some, maybe try the vascular rerouting. Get extra blood to the lobes of your brain that you most enjoy. Visual thinker? Oh, why hello, blood. Funny seeing so much of you in the occipital lobe. Let me just slurp you on up, and ooh, how bright the colors have gotten. Or, what about lymph? Got some of that? What if you had more? No, I don't know what lymph is either, but if you had more, I bet it'd feel weird and different, maybe even pretty cool. It might be fun. Hey, we should all get some lymph later. Hey, you guys want to... What are you doing after this? Want to go grab some lymph? Nah, I'm just kidding. I'll do it by myself. If this works, I want it to be my thing. I'll be Spinny Lymph Man.